Hey there, let's talk guilt and shame today. So, I work with people who feel perpetual shame, and often it is the result of being raised on guilt. And the differentiation, Brene Brown says that the differentiation between shame and guilt is shame is I am a mistake, and guilt is I have made a mistake. But the thing about guilt is that if you have made a mistake, a healthy mind, a healthy ego, so to speak, will validate, yes, I've made a mistake, and move forward. So what will happen is you make a mistake, and that person who's experienced guilt with a healthy mind will serve their time and come out going, I served my time, and that's over, right? But my kind of person is the person who will self-imprison for an entire lifetime, feeling an implied sense of guilt because they were raised on guilt, and they were raised to believe that basically everything they did was a mistake. Or if they stepped outside of the bounds of what was acceptable in the family system, that they were going to be, that's not acceptable. So they had to hide, basically. They had to enter into the smallness of themselves so that they wouldn't be too much for the family system. And that right there creates codependency. So I want to say that the codependent, you can't have one without the other, the codependent and the narcissist, in that particular dynamic. But the thing is, I work with actually people, I think I've really honed it down to empaths who are raised by codependent mothers. And when you are that, you can see so many patterns, but oftentimes when you're mirrored that codependency back at you, even though you can see all of the patterns, you get stuck in those patterns, and you're like, oh my God, this is in me now. It's not just something that I can see, that's wrong that my mother's doing or that my father's doing. It's just something that's actually like now it's a part of me, which happens energetically, and on a DNA level, but also we can get to a place that we can shift and transform that. So it's just a movie that we're watching instead of a character that we're actually playing in the movie. So the thing about when we invert into our shame, we become paralyzed by our shame to make other people comfortable, which is a manipulation on our part, actually. So I had this really bold, unnerving realization today, to be fair, as somebody who definitely identifies as a recovered codependent, that codependency and narcissism are exactly the same in the sense that they're both manipulators of feelings. So a narcissist will manipulate your feelings to basically make themselves feel better, but a codependent will manipulate your feelings to make you feel better. Okay? And in the process of doing that, the codependent will actually become inauthentic because she's, or he, whatever, is showing up when they don't want to show up. They're showing up out of guilt. They say yes when they mean no. They do things they feel martyred and self-sacrificial instead of empowered. So both aspects, the flip side of the same coin, is that the codependent will manipulate people, whether it's it's obviously not intentional, but they will manipulate people in order to receive being liked. Okay, so and the narcissist will manipulate people to make them feel crazy so that they feel actually sane and connected to something because they don't actually have connections. So either way, it's feelings are uncomfortable and aren't allowed, right? Feelings are a mistake. So somebody with a healthy ego, a guilty verdict is a fact, right? It's a fact. You are guilty or you are not guilty. And sometimes it's, implied when it's not actually a fact, which is the shame that my kind of person experiences. The inward, like, oh my God, why do I constantly feel like I am a huge mistake? And why does that trigger make me feel so guilty? And we think that we actually feel guilty, but what we're actually feeling is one layer below that, which is our shame. So the way that I look at this is, if there was a ball in this particular mental framework where we look at shame, it would be shame, and then it would be the core, and then guilt would be the next layer, and then reason the next layer, and then compassion, and then on top of that would be complete forgiveness. And at the end of the day, the place that we want to get to no matter where we are on our journey, is we want to get to a place where we realize that there was never anything to forgive in the first place. So the person who experiences deep shame is constantly they oscillate between like needing to forgive themselves or forgive somebody else. There's always somebody to blame. And usually that person that they're blaming is themselves, and they're going, I don't deserve this, I should hide. And the ironic aspect of that is also in reverse. When we get something that we believe we don't deserve, we experience guilt and we experience shame. And then, that's when especially the empath will self-sabotage and blow up their experience because they don't believe that they're worth it, because most of their lives they've been indoctrinated to live off of guilt. So guilt itself is a state of being, and shame itself is a state of being. But shame is a feeling. I hear my kids in there and they're distracting me. Shame is a feeling of being aware in your consciousness that there might be a reason for you to be humiliated, or there might be a reason for you not to feel okay, and you kind of have to find out what that reason is, right? You're like, okay, well, why don't I feel okay? Like, this looks okay, but why doesn't this feel okay? Oh my gosh, well, I am ultimately a mistake because I can't even figure out why this doesn't feel okay. Something's wrong here. Must be me at the end of the day. Must be me. So I just want to say, for you, if you're experiencing that, that sense of too muchness because you were forced to hide your feelings, you were forced into roles that you didn't want to play, if you experience this sensation of not being worthy, of not wanting to succeed because you don't want to leave people behind, there's so many things that go on with this kind of shame and codependency where we go like, who am I to shine? If I do that, then I should feel guilt because, I'm not allowed to take up space. I just want you to know that you have permission and that you came here to actually make matter move through your way of being. Like, we are fish in water on the earth. We are leaving trails everywhere we go energetically, and you get to decide what kind of a trail you want to leave. And if you're, if you're not leaving any trails because you're afraid somebody else is going to see it, my love, you're not moving, and your movement matters, okay? So in order to be in the world, we've got to be seen in the world, which is so scary, right? And being seen is ironically the thing that somebody who experiences so much shame simultaneously wants and rejects, because we want to be seen and accepted and loved, and then the other part of us is like, please don't see me because I am totally a mistake, and if you see me and you love me, then I will probably disappoint you, but if you don't see me at all, then I'm disappointed. So either way, they can't win. So I really want to say that you are you're on a journey to see not other people as and this is really important. When you feel that way, when we feel that way, the need to hold ourselves back for the sake of other people, we are perceiving them in a hierarchical way. And we are either above or below them. But when we can put ourselves in a situation where we recognize that everybody who came to the planet came with a skill set, and they are almighty and all powerful. Do you understand? When I would look at my mother, this is my story so I can share, but I would look at her like so angry, like so weak, all of these aspects of projecting what I thought she should have done, instead of just allowing her to be who she was and seeing her in the strength of her choices and recognizing she was a sovereign being making those choices, right? Like, nobody was holding her to those choices. And there's a lot of strength in that, like I don't even want to bring this up in a political sense, but a lot of people gave Hillary shit for staying with Bill Clinton after he cheated, and retrospectively, there's so much strength in somebody who owns their choices, which is something that my mother definitely did. Even if she didn't like the choices that she owned, she definitely owned them. So I'm saying this to say that she was never above or below. Obviously, like in a human context, my elder, she was above me, but the truth is that on a hierarchical scale of desiring to be equal or to be above, which is the only thing we want, really, is to be equal or above. Even that sense of aboveness creates a disconnection. And that disconnection actually separates us from ourselves, because we look down at something else and go like, oh, well, you can't, so I have to pity you, and I have to help you, and I have to come down to your level. And the truth is that everybody is capable, and everybody deserves and desires, truly, even though, like, when we're in a victim state, and I get it deeply, I swam there for a long time, we don't want to be seen as capable because it's scary. We go like, well, no, that's really not me, dude. I don't feel capable. But the truth is that all we ever wanted was somebody to tell us that we were and that we could be. So you have to be that person to recognize in yourself that not only are you capable, but all of the people that you're afraid to disappoint somehow, they don't need you, okay? They're capable human beings. They really are. You're allowed to progress. You're allowed to be you. You're allowed to have feelings. You're allowed to feel too much. You're allowed to, and you're allowed to walk away feeling a little bit guilty sometimes, so long as you know that, like, okay, that guilt served the time. Unless you're out killing, raping people, if you're feeling guilty, like, obviously don't be a dick, but guilt in and of itself is imprisonment. Please know that. So know that any of the stupid things you've said, any of the, like, okay, maybe I shouldn't be outlandish or, like, have a voice, I shouldn't take up space, if you do, and then you have a sense of guilt about it, have a sense of guilt. Be like, okay, served my time, because, God, that guilt sucked anyway, but don't go down the rabbit hole of your shame, okay? Don't go down the rabbit hole of your shame, because your shame is the paralyzing one that's hard to get out of, where you feel incapable, and when somebody tells you you're capable, you want to strangle them because they're obviously not seeing you. That's what shame does. It's, I am a mistake. I am not capable of feeling normal, of being here. So that's all I wanted to say today, I suppose. I wanted to address somebody's request to talk about guilt and shame, because a lot of people also don't know the differentiation between the two, and to be fair, it's pretty confusing, but I think in an energetic level, the way that I understand it is simply guilt is it's a fact. It's a way of being, but it's also capable of being deflected, whereas if I see people do it all the time, they don't feel guilty at all, and I'm like, dude, you're an asshole, and they're like, so what? And they might be like, yeah, and I'm an asshole, and then they still don't feel the need to serve time for it, whereas somebody else who's like, okay, I feel guilty, and now I'm going like, I should, leave the planet, kill myself because I feel such guilt. That's not what we came for. That's not what we want to do. So we're allowed to step out. We're allowed to be seen and be bigger than even our energy body. Like, we're allowed to be bigger than we are. So I hope this was helpful, and you have permission to shine.